The last side of this triangle is that one linking religion to mythology, and in fact, it's the weakest side that solely relies on the two other sides. Hence, it directly collapses once the two other sides collapse. And here we may recall Karl Marx's famous quote, Die Religion ist das Opium des Volkes. Religion is the opium of people, noting that Marx was one of Darwin's fans. Theorists of this area embrace Darwin's philosophy, assuming that religion has evolved in parallel to the assumed human evolution. Karen Armstrong, the well-known thinker and the religious historian, summarizes this view in the following statement. We all want to know where we came from, but because our earliest beginnings are lost in the mist of prehistory, we have created myths about our forefathers that are not historicals, but help to explain current attitudes about our environment, neighbors, and customs. We also want to know where we are going, so we have created stories that speak of a posthumous existence. Earlier works by John M. Robertson, like Christianity and Mythology and Pagan Christ, compared biblical Jesus with other earlier worshipped deities like Krishna and the Hindu Trinity. In brief, the two key claims of mythology are: prophets are imaginary people and not historical. 2. Abrahamic religions have evolved over time and borrowed a lot from ancient pagan myths. Verily, history refutes the first claim and confirms the existence of prophets. For example, the Merneptah victory stele or Israel stele, housed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, includes an inscription highlighting the pharaoh's victory over the enemies, such as Israel, stating that Israel is laid waste and his seed is not. We also know where Prophet Muhammad is buried, as well as his family lineage being a descendant of Ishmael, son of Abraham. Consequently, and as the existence of prophets cannot be simply disproved, the second claim, assuming that Abrahamic religions have pagan roots, has got more popularity. As indicated earlier, assuming that Abrahamic religions have been borrowed from pagan roots is based mainly on similarities between stories in the Abrahamic religions and the Babylonian mythology. And at this point, I have to consider the Islamic belief to provide the complete answer. Surprisingly, almost all Western researchers, while considering the science-religion debate, they ignore Islam or adopt prejudice. For example, Stephen Hawking in The Grand Design reviews and criticizes the creation stories from Africa, Latin America, and the Old Testament, mainly in dating the age of the universe to just a few thousands of years, even though the world contains fossils that make it much older. On the other hand, we find Quran tackles mythology claims in several verses. For example, and they say, tales of the ancients. He wrote them down. They are dictated to him morning and evening. Say, it was revealed by He who knows the secret in the heavens and the earth. He is always forgiving and merciful. Meanwhile, Quran asserts that God created the universe, then so many nations, long time in the past, that time is neither stated nor defined. And Ad, and Thamud, and dwellers of Ar-Ras, and many nations in between. Also, Quran calls for reason and science in so many verses. Travel through the earth and see how God originated the creation. And say, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. And considering the overall understanding, in Islam, Adam was the first man as well as the first prophet in a chain of prophets. One prophet follows the other to fix any man-made distortion in the eternal message they all carried. There is only one God, the creator of the universe, and the one who deserves to be worshipped. Verily, we have sent the revelation to you as we sent the revelation to Noah and the prophets after him. We sent the revelation to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and Al-Asbat, Jesus, Job, Jonah, Aaron, and Solomon, and to David we gave Psalms. According to Quran, after each prophet, people by time twisted the pure belief in God, mixing it with pagan beliefs. For example, Quran tells us about the prophet who denounced his people's belief in false deity. will you call upon Baal and forsake the best of creators? Now we may understand why there are similarities between some pagan myths and Abrahamic religions. Quran asserts that Abraham was a Muslim, worships the only God, and was not pagan. And what actually happened in the time intervals between prophets is twisting their legacy and mixing true stories with pagan and imaginary myths. So, part of any myth can be traced back to Adam or any other prophet, while the rest of it is just pure lies. And I would like here to go back to the bigger picture, considering the relation between science and religion. Historically, there has been a direct proportional relationship between the rise of Islam and science. The Islamic world carried the science torch for more than 10 centuries and was the bridge to the later European Renaissance. During the European Dark Ages, the streets of Andalusia and Baghdad were paved and lit at night, and highly organized hospitals were run in both Damascus and Cairo. The alignment between reason and Islam was one of the key sources of its wide and fast spread in the world, and to be the civilization that has the longest life in history. So, for Muslims, such a question is very strange, because the answer is straightforward: yes. Simply because Muslims see science and religion as allies, not rivals, and the eye cannot miss hints on creation of the universe revealed in Quran before 14th century. For example, on the singularity of the Big Bang. Have not those who disbelieve known that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one united piece? Then we parted them, and we have made from water every living thing. Will they not then believe? And on the hotness of the initial status we read, then he rose over towards the heaven when it was smoke, and said to it and to the earth, come both of you willingly or unwillingly. They both said, we come willingly. While on the expansion of the universe we read, with might did we construct the heaven, and we are expanding. Although this is just an illustrative graph, it reflects the relation between science and religion, both in Europe and Islam. And it's clear that in Islam, there is no dilemma like the Dark Ages dilemma in Europe. The dilemma that has led well-known scientists to use mental gymnastics to step back from believing in God, though all pieces of evidence point to a great creator. The key pillars of the Dark Age dilemma have not been ever found in Islam. Away from science-religion debate, Islamic scholars have no right to sell people places in heaven or send them to the hellfire. All people are the same. Where in Islam, it's a direct individual relation with God, governed by one's own capacity and ability. Verily, with such concept, there is no need for inquisition in Islam. Andalusia was a clear example of religious tolerance, where Christians and Jews lived in peace under the Islamic Empire until the collapse of that empire and the expulsion of Jews by the Inquisition. Quran states that, O mankind, we have created you from a male and female and made you into nations and tribes that you may know one another. Verily, the most honorable of you before God is the most pious. In fact, there is a deep Western confusion between how everything could have existed and why. All proposed mechanisms, processes, theories, equations are all about how, not why. That cannot be answered apart from a great creator who has already declared himself. Russell Stannard, Emeritus Professor of Physics at the Open University, UK, says, scientism that science is the only route to knowledge and that ultimately we will have a complete understanding of everything. That is nonsense, and I think it's dangerous nonsense. In history, reason and science have progressed hand in hand with Islam since its birth till the end of the 18th century, the time where Muslims lost their identity, started to adopt other philosophies, and to compete on power and thrones only for individual benefits and earthly pleasures, ending up with the collapse of the Islamic Empire and almost all Islamic countries have been invaded and occupied by other nations that have imposed their secular philosophy up till today. Nowadays, many Muslims lack education, even about the principle of their own religion, relying instead on superstitions and local traditions. Global media show Islam as oppressive, backward or retractive, which fuels the feeling of injustice and oppression. At the end, being a believer or not is a personal decision, being related to one's own destiny and his or her genuine effort in search for truth. However, arrogance, prejudice, stereotyping people or defaming them is not a wise decision, as maybe those people hold the greatest message ever sent to earth. Thank you.